The sky above Zithra's battlefield was not blue. It was a swirl of dark clouds and red fire, thick with smoke and streaks of energy from laser blasts. Liara, the young alien warrior, crouched behind a shattered wall of what had once been a civilian building. Her heart pounded, and her sharp eyes scanned the chaos. Explosions ripped through the ground, throwing dirt and debris into the air. Somewhere nearby, one of her comrades screamed, then silence. Liara's armor was scorched, in places, but it held. Her fingers gripped her plasma rifle tightly, though her thoughts raced faster than her actions. This was not just a battle, it was survival. Her people, the Zitherans, were fighting for every inch of their homeland. They had trained for this all their lives, but nothing prepared them for the merciless strike of the enemy fleet. A sudden roar of engines echoed overhead. Enemy drones swept down, firing energy beams at everything that moved. Liara's stomach tightened. She pressed herself lower, using the rubble as cover. Her mind flashed to her homeworld, the green valleys and crystal rivers she would never see again if this battle ended badly. She shook the thought away. There was no room for sadness here. Only action. Liara. "Cover me," shouted Kellen, a fellow warrior, as he ran across the open ground. Bullets, or whatever the enemy called their projectiles, ripped past him. Without thinking, Liara leaped from her hiding place and fired her rifle. Energy beams streaked across the battlefield, cutting down one of the drones before it could strike Kellen. He dove to the ground, giving her a quick nod of thanks. They moved together, taking small steps through the ruined streets. The cries of wounded soldiers and the roar of distant explosions formed a harsh symphony. Liara's ears rang, but she focused. She had a mission: reach the Central Command and deliver critical intelligence about the enemy's movements. Failure was not an option. As they ran, Liara noticed a small child's toy lying among the rubble, a tiny wooden figure broken and blackened by fire. She felt a pang of emotion, quickly buried under training and duty. Innocent lives were caught in the crossfire, lives that should never have been touched by war. She clenched her jaw and moved on. Suddenly, an enemy squad appeared, cutting off their path. Liara froze for a moment, calculating her options. Retreat would expose Kellen, but attacking head-on could be suicide. Her training kicked in. She hurled a smoke grenade, filling the area with thick, swirling mist. Shadows danced in the fog, and she used the cover to flank the enemies, taking them by surprise. Her rifle discharged rapidly, beams finding their marks. Each pull of the trigger was precise, controlled. She did not think about anger or fear, only the rhythm of survival. One by one, the enemy soldiers fell or fled. Kellen joined her, and together they pressed forward. But the battle was relentless. An explosion shook the ground beneath them, throwing Liara off balance. Pain shot through her side, sharp and burning. She stumbled, gripping her wound, tasting blood in her mouth. Kellen reached for her. "Liara, we have to move," he shouted. "I can't," she gasped, her body trembling. She pushed herself up, ignoring the pain. Her duty would not allow her to fall. Not now. Not ever. She glanced toward the Central Command building, half destroyed, smoke curling from its roof. The mission was close, but so was danger. Another wave of enemy drones descended. Liara raised her rifle, firing until her arms ached. She could see her strength fading, but still she did not stop. She would not allow her comrades to die because she faltered. Every shot counted, every second mattered. Then she saw him, an enemy commander, larger and faster than any she had faced. He charged with terrifying speed, energy blades flashing. Liara knew that meeting him head-on could mean death, but retreat was impossible. Her instincts screamed. She dodged, rolled, and fired, but the commander was relentless. A blade of pure energy struck her shoulder, searing through armor and flesh. Pain exploded through her body. Liara fell to her knees, gasping. Her vision blurred. Around her, the battlefield seemed to slow, explosions echoing like distant thunder. Her thoughts went to her family, her home, the rivers and forests of Zithra. She had trained her entire life for this, yet here she was, facing the edge of life itself. Kellen's voice called out, panicked and urgent. Liara, hold on. Don't give up. She tried to answer, tried to rise, but her strength was gone. Every muscle screamed. She looked at Kellen one last time, fear and pride in his eyes. Then she felt a strange calm wash over her. The battlefield, the explosions, the chaos, all of it began to fade. Her thoughts slowed, memories of laughter and peace mixing with the noise of war. Liara's last conscious thought was of hope. Even here at the brink of death, she imagined a world where peace might exist, a world where beings could survive without constant war. And then darkness took her. The smoke, the fire, the shouts, all vanished. Silence wrapped around her like a blanket. She did not feel fear anymore, only an empty void, a pause in existence itself. Somewhere far away, in a place she did not know, Liara's journey was far from over. The battlefield that had almost claimed her life was now behind her. Something new awaited, something entirely unexpected. And though she did not know it yet, her life would continue in a way no warrior could have imagined. The war was not finished, but Liara's story had only just begun. Liara's eyes fluttered open to a world that was nothing like the battlefield she had just left. The air was cool, clean, and strangely quiet. Her body ached, every muscle screaming in pain, but there were no explosions, no fire, no enemy soldiers in sight. She tried to move, only to feel soft restraints around her arms. Panic rose for a moment, but then she noticed the gentle hum of machines and the bright white lights above her. She was lying on a smooth table in a room that looked like it had been designed for healing, not for war. The walls were lined with strange tools and glowing panels. Panels? No, lights and displays. She could not understand them at first, but they seemed harmless. A soft voice interrupted her confusion. "You're awake," the voice said. It was calm, steady, human. Liara turned her head slowly and saw a man standing nearby. He had short dark hair, soft brown eyes, and a uniform that looked practical rather than decorative. He carried a small device that blinked quietly. "Who are you?" Liara asked, her voice hoarse. It sounded strange even to her own ears, thin and weak. "My name is Adrian Vale. I am a mechanic, and now I also help with medical care," the man said carefully, his tone full of patience. "You were badly injured. We found you on the battlefield. You are safe now." Liara tried to speak again, but her throat was dry. She scanned the room, seeing devices she had never seen before, metal arms, tubes, small lights moving across panels. None of it looked like Zithran technology, but it worked. Somehow it kept her alive. She wanted to pull away, to assert her independence, but her body refused. Her limbs trembled with pain. For the first time in her life, she was completely helpless. The thought should have angered her, but instead, it filled her with a strange curiosity. Humans, creatures she had always considered fragile and weak, had saved her. Why help me?" she asked, still weak. Adrian paused, looking surprised by the question. Then he smiled softly. "Because it is right. Everyone deserves care when they are hurt. You were not my enemy when I found you. I do not know your war, but I know suffering. I can help with that." Liara's pride burned inside her. To accept help from a human felt wrong. Zithran warriors were strong and they were supposed to survive alone, but her body could not lie. She needed him. Slowly, with effort, she relaxed into the table. Adrian checked her wounds carefully, applying soft gels and devices that hummed with energy. Pain faded little by little, though her body still felt weak and foreign. Liara watched him work, fascinated. Humans were not fast like Zitharans, not stronger, but their minds were clever. Every action was precise, thoughtful, and efficient. They made machines that could heal, repair, even protect life. Hours passed. Liara drifted in and out of sleep, the haze of injury making her dream of her homeworld. She saw the crystal rivers, the green valleys, and her family. When she awoke, Adrian was still there, speaking quietly to himself as he adjusted her equipment. "You are stronger than I expected," he said with a smile, noticing her eyes open again. "But you need rest. Your body cannot fight this time." Liara tried to speak, but only managed a whisper. "Humans, they are strange." Adrian laughed softly. "We are, yes. But we try to survive like everyone else. And we help when we can." As the days passed, Liara began to regain strength. Adrian taught her to move slowly, to stretch her muscles without hurting them further. She discovered that humans were not just fragile creatures. They adapted quickly, used tools to overcome weakness, and worked together in ways that surprised her. Even a simple act, fixing a damaged panel or organizing supplies, required clever thinking and teamwork. Liara started helping him with small tasks, learning quickly. Her alien instincts guided her hands, and Adrian's careful instructions helped her apply them in new ways. She found herself amazed that humans could solve problems without brute strength. Their brains, their cleverness, their creativity. They were weapons as sharp as any plasma blade, yet trust was difficult. Liara could not forget the battlefield. She expected humans to be timid, selfish, or cruel. But Adrian's patience, his quiet determination, made her reconsider. Perhaps humans, Days passed and Liara's strength slowly returned. Her muscles ached less, her breathing grew steady, and the wounds that had almost ended her life were healing. But the hardest part was not her body. It was learning to trust. Scythian warriors were trained to rely on themselves alone. Dependence was a weakness. Yet every time Adrian Vale, the human who had saved her, entered the room with a calm smile, she felt a strange pull toward him. "Today we work together," Adrian said, holding a small toolkit. "I need your help fixing the auxiliary engines." Liara glanced at the device. It was complex, a mesh of metal rods, wires, and glowing panels. Her instincts told her to strike it, pry it apart, or throw it aside. But instead she hesitated. Adrian noticed and laughed softly. "You don't have to understand everything at once, just follow my instructions," he said. "We are a team, not enemies." The word team struck Liara. On Scythera, warriors were units, yes, but always, ranked and ordered. Cooperation existed only to survive, not because of trust. She frowned, uncertain. Adrian handed her a small panel. "This piece goes here. Align it carefully. Good. Now tighten the bolts." Her hands moved, guided by both human instructions and her own alien precision. Slowly, the machine began to hum, a steady, strong rhythm. Liara felt satisfaction, but also surprise. She had never worked with someone like this before. Not as an equal, not as a partner. "See?" Adrian said, noticing her expression. "You are learning more than you think. Humans survive because we adapt, share knowledge, and trust each other." Liara's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Trust is strange." "Yes," Adrian said, "but it is worth it." Over the next few days, she learned more about human habits, how they joked to relieve stress, how they shared stories of their homes and families, how even a simple meal was an act of care. Liara observed quietly at first, then began to participate. She learned the names of the crew, their quirks, their favorite foods. Humans were fragile, yes, but clever and resilient in ways she had never imagined. One morning, Adrian called her to the training area. "Time to move. Your muscles need work. Even warriors must exercise differently in recovery." Liara raised an eyebrow. "Exercise with humans?" He nodded. "Yes, you will teach me combat, and I will teach you new ways to use your strength. Together we learn." The training was awkward at first. Humans were slower than Scytherans, their reflexes not as sharp. Yet they compensated with creativity. Adrian showed her how to anticipate moves, use tools as extensions of the body, and even rely on other team members instead of only herself. Liara found the lessons fascinating. She realized that humans could be dangerous in their own way, Not by brute force, but by thinking faster and acting smarter. Your instincts are strong, Adrian said one day after a session. But instincts alone cannot win every battle. Strategy and trust matter just as much. Liara paused, considering. The words. Instincts had saved her countless times, yet now she saw that alone they were not enough. Trust and teamwork could enhance her power, make her stronger than she had ever been. Despite progress, fear remained. Every time she closed her eyes at night, she remembered the battlefield, the screams, the fire, the explosions. Could she survive if humans failed? Could she forgive herself if she could not protect them? These thoughts were heavy, yet Adrian's presence eased them. His patience, his steady care, reminded her that strength could also be gentle. One evening, Adrian brought her to a small observation deck. They stood side by side, gazing at distant stars. Liara felt a strange calm. The wars of Zithara seemed very far away here, though they still existed. You look at them and wonder, don't you? Adrian said. Planets, galaxies. Life beyond our small conflicts. Liara nodded. I have seen stars from Zithara, but they never felt like hope. Only danger. Then maybe you need to see them with someone who hopes, he said softly. She considered his words. Perhaps hope was not a weakness. Perhaps it was a strength humans wielded quietly, and it was just as powerful as any blade. As trust grew, Liara began helping more actively. She repaired damaged panels, learned to maintain life support systems, and even helped the crew navigate small repairs during routine space travel. Humans relied on her knowledge of alien technology, and she learned from their methods. A mutual respect formed, stronger than fear, deeper than mere survival. One day, Liara noticed a small human childlike robot moving through the corridors. It was curious, asking questions in a soft, mechanical voice. Liara crouched to its level, studying, as she had never cared for anything so fragile, so untrained. Yet something stirred inside her, a protective instinct she had not known existed beyond battle. You are different, she whispered, almost to herself. But maybe not weak. Adrian appeared beside her. Humans, machines, aliens, we all have strengths. Learning from each other is what makes us survive. Liara nodded slowly. She realized that her experience with humans was changing her. The warrior who had collapsed on Zithara's battlefield was still inside, fierce and proud. But now she also understood patience, trust, and cooperation. She could combine her strength with theirs to achieve more than she ever could alone. Night fell, and the observation deck grew quiet. Liara stood beside Adrian, looking at the stars. Her heart still carried memories of war, but now she also carried something new. The belief that survival did not mean fighting alone. Strength could come from trust. Hope could come from compassion. And humans, despite all their apparent fragility, had taught her this lesson in ways no weapon ever could. For the first time, Liara felt that her life might continue beyond the battlefield. She had been given a chance, not just to heal, but to grow, to learn, and perhaps to protect life in ways she had never imagined. The story of Liara, the alien warrior, was no longer just about fighting. It was about learning, trusting, and discovering the hidden strength of beings she had once considered weak. And in that understanding, she found a new purpose: to survive, to protect, and to fight, not for conquest, but for life itself. Liara's nights were restless. Even as she trained, repaired, and helped the human crew, the memories of the battlefield never left her. The screams, the fire, the sharp edge of energy blades, they haunted her dreams. She had grown stronger, wiser, and yet a shadow followed her: the war on Zithara. One morning, a soft chime echoed through the medical bay. Liara had learned to move quickly despite her injuries, and she rushed to the communicator. A holographic screen flickered to life, showing the familiar insignia of her people. Her heart clenched. It was a message from her commander, short and urgent. The The Zitharan forces were regrouping and preparing for a strike against the human colonies. Many of her comrades were already marching. The words hit her like a physical blow. Her homeworld needed her. Her people expected her. Liara sank to the floor, her claws brushing against the smooth surface. She had fought to survive, trained to conquer, and now she was faced with a choice she never expected. To return meant joining the war again, to fight and possibly kill humans who had shown her care. To stay meant abandoning her people, betraying everything she had learned. Adrian noticed her distress. "Liara?" he asked gently. "What's wrong?" She hesitated, unsure how to explain. The Zitharan language was foreign to humans, and even translating was difficult. Yet the message was clear. Her past was calling her back, and it demanded action. They are preparing an attack," she said finally, voice trembling. "My people, Zithara, they will—" Adrian put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I understand, but remember this. You have seen another way. You've learned that strength isn't only in weapons or combat. You've learned trust and compassion and hope. You don't have to repeat the past." Liara's eyes narrowed. Hope, trust. Words she had once thought meaningless in the heat of battle. Yet now, they felt real, like armor stronger than metal. Could she take those lessons back to her people? Could she fight for something beyond victory? She spent hours in the training area, moving through combat simulations with human partners. Each strike, each movement, reminded her of her alien strength. Each pause, each strategic choice, reminded her of human ingenuity. She realized that a combination of both could make a force greater than anything she had seen on Zithara. That evening, she met with the human crew. Adrian, engineers, and pilots listened as she explained her people's plan. Her words were careful, precise, without revealing secrets that could endanger the humans, yet she shared enough to prepare them for what might come. "We must be ready," she said firmly. "Not for revenge, not for conquest, but to protect life." The humans nodded, respect shining in their eyes. Liara felt a small warmth in her chest. She was beginning to understand that leadership was not only about giving orders or winning battles. It was about making choices that saved lives. Over the next days, she trained tirelessly, combining her alien combat skills with human tactics. Humans learned quickly, adapting to her movements, predicting her strikes, and developing strategies that were both clever and unexpected. Together, they formed a small but powerful team, prepared to face Zitharan forces if needed. But Liara also sought answers from within. She practiced meditation, a habit she had abandoned during her years of relentless training. She remembered the rivers and valleys of Zithara, the laughter of her family, and the quiet moments of peace before war had taken over. She realized that too. The alarms echoed through the human space station. Red lights flashed, casting shadows across the walls. Liara stood at the command center, her armor repaired and enhanced with human technology. Her heart pounded, but not with fear. This time, it was with focus. The Zitharan fleet was approaching, faster and larger than any of the humans had expected. Adrian Vale stood beside her. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed the tension. Liara nodded. "I am ready. This is not just a battle. It is a choice. We fight to protect, not to destroy." The human crew looked to her for guidance. They trusted her, and she felt a weight of responsibility heavier than any weapon she had carried on Zithara. She could not fail. Not them, not herself, not the hope she now carried. The enemy ships appeared on the horizon like a swarm of dark shadows. Their energy weapons glowed ominously, and their engines roared with deadly intent. Liara gave the order. "Deploy fighters, activate shields, follow my lead." The station shuddered as the first Zitharan blasts hit. Explosions rippled through space, shaking metal and sending alarms screaming through the corridors. Liara's instincts took over. She coordinated attacks, guiding human pilots in ways they had never imagined. Each move was precise, combining her alien speed and skill with human ingenuity. "Flank left," she shouted. "Distract their lead ship. Use the debris field." The humans executed her commands, dodging, weaving, and striking with calculated force. Liara's hands moved with her rifle firing at approaching fighters. Her aim was precise, but she also relied on humans to cover angles she could not. It was teamwork in its purest form, a harmony of instincts, strategy, and trust. Amid the chaos, she noticed a smaller squad of Zitharan ships breaking off toward a nearby colony. Panic rose in her chest. Innocent lives were at stake. Without hesitation, she ordered a strike team, including herself and Adrian, to intercept them. The smaller ships were fast, agile, and deadly. Liara engaged one directly, dodging energy blasts and striking back with skillful precision. Her movements were a blur, alien reflexes enhanced by human technology. She could see the patterns of the enemy, predicting their attacks before they happened. Adrian piloted their fighter beside her, coordinating maneuvers. "Use the asteroid field," he shouted. "They won't expect it." Liara led the Zitharan squad into the dense field of rocks and debris. The enemy struggled to navigate, their ships colliding with obstacles. With a final coordinated strike, Liara and the humans disabled the lead ship, forcing the rest to retreat. The colony was safe. Back at the station, the larger battle raged. Liara watched the holographic displays, guiding human ships, predicting enemy movements, and saving lives wherever she could. She could feel her Zitharan instincts pushing her forward, but it was the humans' quick thinking, adaptability, and trust in her that turned the tide. Then she saw something unexpected. Some Zitharan ships were signaling surrender. Soldiers, who had no desire to continue the war, were calling for a ceasefire. Liara's heart lifted. Not every enemy was cruel. Some sought survival, just like her. She ordered the human forces to hold fire and accept the surrender. Mercy, she realized, was as powerful as a weapon. The battle continued into hours, but slowly the Zitharan fleet began to retreat. Liara guided human ships, providing cover and ensuring no lives were lost unnecessarily. The humans fought with courage, cleverness, and unity, their ingenuity turning what could have been a massacre into a controlled victory. When the last enemy ship left, silence fell over the station. The alarms faded, replaced by the soft hum of engines and life support systems. Liara lowered her rifle, her body aching but her spirit strong. She looked at Adrian, who smiled with relief. "You did it," he said softly. "We all did it. Together." Liara nodded, feeling the truth of his words. Victory was not hers alone. It belonged to everyone who had fought, trusted, and cared. She realized that the war had not been a simple matter of strength. It had been about teamwork, intelligence, and compassion, the very traits humans had taught her to value. Later, she walked through the corridors of the station. Human crew members repaired systems, tended to the wounded, and quietly celebrated survival. She saw gratitude in their eyes, but also respect. They looked at her differently now, not just as an alien warrior, but as a leader who had guided them through chaos. Liara paused at the viewport, looking at the distant stars. She thought of Zithara, her family, and the soldiers still fighting on both sides. She knew that peace was fragile, that there would always be conflict. But for the first time, she felt that hope was possible. Humans had shown her that survival did not mean dominance, that strength could come from compassion, and that even a warrior could choose life over destruction. She had fought not for victory alone, but for redemption, for herself, for the humans who had saved her, and for the possibility that life could be better than war. Adrian appeared beside her. "What will you do now?" he asked. Liara considered.
"I will protect life wherever I can. I will teach those who are willing to learn that strength is more than power. It is hope, trust, and courage. And I will remember that even in darkness, kindness can guide the way." He nodded. Then,
"You are ready for what comes next." Liara turned back to the stars. She had faced the battlefield, confronted her past, and fought alongside humans to save lives. Her journey was far from over, but she now understood something vital. Strength alone did not define a warrior. Choice, trust, and compassion did. 3. Battle had ended, but a new path had begun. Liara, the Zitharan warrior, had been reborn, not only as a fighter but as a protector. She had seen the worst of war and the best of humanity, and she carried both lessons forward. And as she stood there, watching the calm of space, she felt the first true peace she had known since leaving Zithara. Not the quiet before battle, but the quiet of life surviving, thriving, and learning from the courage of those willing to care. For Liara, the story was far from finished. But this battle had shown her that hope, trust, and unity could overcome even the darkest shadows of war. And with that knowledge, she was ready to face whatever came next. The stars stretched endlessly before Liara as she stood on the observation deck of the human station. The battle was over. The Zitharan fleet had retreated and the humans were safe, for now. But Liara knew that her life and the galaxy would never be the same. She had survived the battlefield, learned the strength of humans, and discovered that courage and compassion could be as powerful as any weapon. Adrian Vale approached her, carrying a small device that displayed reports from distant systems. "There are ceasefire talks starting between Zithara and human colonies," he said quietly. "Your actions helped create this opportunity. They are willing to listen now." Liara turned to him, her eyes reflecting both weariness and determination. "It is only a chance," she said, "but it is a start. That is enough." The station was alive with activity. Humans moved efficiently through corridors, repairing systems, tending to the wounded, and preparing for the next journey. Liara had become part of their team, not as a stranger or a prisoner, but as an ally. She trained with them, shared knowledge, and guided them through both human and alien strategies. Her presence had inspired confidence. Humans saw that courage was not limited by species, and Liara saw that survival was not limited by instinct alone. Liara walked through the medical bay, observing the crew caring for injured soldiers from both sides of the conflict. She paused by a small human child robot, now repaired and moving with curiosity and life. Liara crouched to its level and touched its smooth surface. "You are strong," she whispered, "in your own way." Adrian joined her. "Strength comes in many forms," he said. "It is not always about fighting. Sometimes it is about helping, guiding, and protecting." Liara nodded. She understood now that her journey had not been about winning battles or proving herself as a warrior. It had been about discovering what it truly meant to protect life and to trust in others. In the following weeks, Liara took an active role in preparing for peace. She worked with human diplomats, sharing knowledge of Zitharan strategies and culture. Her insights helped prevent misunderstandings and potential conflicts. Humans listened, adapted, and learned from her experiences. Together they built a foundation for negotiation that was stronger than any weapon. Yet, Liara never forgot her past. She trained daily, keeping her skills sharp, teaching humans combat techniques, and preparing for the possibility of future threats. She balanced vigilance with compassion, realizing that both were necessary. Strength without purpose was meaningless, and kindness without protection could be dangerous. One day, Adrian led her to a communications hub. A holographic message from Zithara appeared. The leader of her people spoke directly to her, acknowledging her survival and the role she had played in protecting human colonies. They expressed gratitude and a willingness to reconsider old ways of war. Liara listened carefully, her heart steady. "I have seen another way," she said aloud, though the message could not hear. "A way that values life, not destruction." Adrian placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then show them. Lead by example." Liara thought of the battlefield she had survived, of the humans who had saved her, and of the lessons she had learned. She realized that her path was no longer defined by orders or loyalty alone. It was defined